Have you noticed that recently our planet has been experiencing too many terrifying natural disasters? Today, I would like to tell you about the most horrifying cases in recent times. I'll also explain why they happen. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you why this will be happening more and more often. Enjoy watching Volcano Eruption on White Island. Imagine planning an amazing vacation with your loved one. You want unforgettable experiences to see unique places and natural phenomena, so you choose an island. But not just any island. One with an active volcano. It's exactly what you were looking for. Thrilling and intense experiences. Or maybe it's better to relax somewhere more peaceful. I think in such cases it's worth double-checking the destination you're planning to visit, because what happened on White Island in 2019 could happen. What happened there? An eruption. Right when tourist groups were there? If you found yourself in such a situation, I think you'd never want an active vacation again and would prefer to just relax on a beach at a hotel. On December 9th, around 2 p.m., a very powerful volcanic eruption began. It was so strong that a cloud of ash and gas rose over 2 miles high. And as you can understand, everything ejected during an eruption is not very good for human health, especially considering the ash's high temperature. At that moment, there were 47 people on the island, and almost all of them were injured. They suffered severe burns, not to mention gas poisoning that also occurs during eruptions. As a result, 22 people died, and 2 more went missing. It's terrifying to imagine what those people felt at that moment. And don't think they were professional climbers and travelers who knew exactly how to act in a critical situation. The main problem was that most of them were ordinary tourists who just bought a unique tour of the island to see the volcano, so they had little chance of survival. Moreover, the rescue operation was heavily delayed. Why? Because of the eruption. The volcanic ash made it impossible for rescue helicopters to approach the island to save people. Additionally, the unstable conditions on the island prevented quick decisions. In general, everything went against those poor tourists who bought the tour. Label 2.1, Consequences. Unfortunately, almost all the tourists suffered serious burns. I'm personally shocked that the tour companies didn't take care of people's safety. There were many signs of the eruption. The volcano was very active, and seismologists warned of the danger. So, all these companies faced severe criticism. Moreover, even the New Zealand authorities were criticized for poorly controlling the work of these organizations. I also want to point out that volcanic eruptions are extremely dangerous. Just look at history and how many cities and civilizations have perished due to eruptions. Like Pompeii. Although I understand the tourists who went on such a trip, just look at the footage of active volcanoes. It's truly mesmerizing, but only when you watch from a distance. Would you dare to go on such a tour? Write your opinion in the comments. Wildfires in Australia. Do you know which natural disaster can rightfully be considered the most destructive? No, it's not volcanic eruptions, floods, or other emergencies. In fact, the most dangerous are ordinary fires. Yes, you heard that right. Why? Well, I'll try to explain with a very vivid example. Australia, 2019. An extremely dry and hot summer. Almost everything in the forests, jungles, and steppes dried up. And due to certain circumstances, small fires started to break out. Somewhere a faulty electrical cable caused a short circuit and grass caught fire. Somewhere people didn't have a successful barbecue, causing a fire. Now imagine that everything around is perfect tinder for ignition. Moreover, that year Australia had very strong winds. What did this lead to? Terrible consequences. Fires engulfed almost the entire country. Their area was estimated at hundreds of thousands of square miles. As a result, billions of animals died, and some species were on the brink of extinction. Just look at the footage available online. For me, the most memorable video was the rescue of a koala with no unburned spots. A very scary video that brings tears to your eyes, and many still think nothing terrible will happen if they throw a plastic wrapper or a glass bot tally somewhere outside. Unfortunately, such carelessness leads to irreversible consequences. Even a piece of glass can act as a lens for the sun, causing grass to ignite, then trees, and eventually the entire forest. That's what happened in Australia. The fires lasted almost a year. Just think about that number. And all that time, firefighters worked tirelessly. A huge number of people were left homeless because their homes simply burned down. During those fires, 33 people died, and many went missing. Now imagine such fires happening every day. Horrible. So, friends, I strongly urge you to follow fire safety rules if you go on a picnic with friends. And now I'll talk about other natural phenomena that are better observed from a distance. Tornado in the USA in 2021. For example, a very recent case. In December 2021, the USA experienced a series of incredibly powerful tornadoes. Looking at the footage published online, you can go crazy. Just look at this terrifying spectacle. It seems they are the size of a huge field, and they really are. But what's even more frightening is the destruction these tornadoes cause. But first, let's understand how they form. It's all about unique climatic conditions. Usually, tornadoes form when warm, dry air collides with colder, moist air masses. This is not uncommon in America. They have a very strange climate. These collisions form powerful thunderclouds, and these notorious tornadoes arise. Why are they so dangerous? It's all about the huge pressure differences inside the vortex. Moreover, due to the very strong wind, all trees, plants, and any other poorly secured objects can be lifted into the air. So, if a person gets caught in a tornado and somehow survives the pressure changes, they'll most likely be killed by colliding with some object. And that's exactly what happened in 2021. In December, the weather was very warm, causing huge vortices to form. They swept away everything in their path: cars, houses, trees. You could only take shelter from such a natural disaster in a bunker or a very sturdy building. And in America, as you may know, due to the warm climate, houses are quite flimsy. This doesn't mean they fall apart at a sneeze, but they can't withstand a tornado. As a result, at least about 90 people died from the destructive force. Several dozen are still considered missing. A large number of ordinary people suffered various injuries, including shrapnel wounds. This fact once again confirms the danger of such natural phenomena. Additionally, about 1,000 homes were destroyed. Looking at the consequences of the tornado, I increasingly wonder, who are these daredevils who chase them? Literally, in America, there are tornado chasers. They try to film them, measure their strength. To me, they seem crazy. When I see vortices forming outside, I always try to find shelter. Are you afraid of tornadoes? Tsunami in Japan. Video. By the way, did you always imagine a tsunami the way it's shown in movies? I recently watched footage of what happened in Japan in 2011 and was a bit shocked. It looked completely different from the movies. Take a look at how that natural disaster started. It seems like nothing extremely dangerous, just a huge wave barely breaking the seawall. But that's only at first glance. If you look at the aftermath of this tsunami, you immediately think of Hollywood movies. But why is that? The thing is, tsunamis are long waves by nature. This means that initially, only a small part reaches the shore. Gradually, the water level rises significantly. Although in Japan, the waves weren't extraordinarily high. On average, their height was about 10 feet, but the highest recorded was over 20 feet. And that was enough to flood vast areas. Water is a very terrifying force. It sweeps away literally everything in its path. And I'm not exaggerating. How many people do you think died as a result of this terrible event? Almost 20,000 people. Over 2,500 are still missing. That wave, which initially seemed quite small, washed away a huge number of houses. In Fukushima Prefecture alone, over 1,000 residential buildings were destroyed. Not to mention the other regions, the tsunami even swept away a large ship and several trains. But the worst part was yet to come. The tsunami was caused by an earthquake, and although almost no one was hurt by it, the technology failed. In Fukushima, there was a nuclear power plant, which was shut down urgently when the earthquake began. However, due to the tsunami, there was a cooling system failure. I think you've all heard about the Chernobyl disaster. Well, almost the same thing happened in Fukushima. And if you think water can't cause such damage, just think about it. That tsunami completely destroyed an entire city. In short, a very destructive natural disaster. Earthquake in Turkey, 2023. Since I've touched on the topic of earthquakes, I can't help but tell you about this terrifying natural phenomenon. Actually, in that year, Japan experienced one of the most powerful earthquakes on our planet. But one thing I can say for sure. Thank God the epicenter was underwater and far from the shore. Otherwise, a magnitude of 9 would have wiped the whole country off the map. You could say humanity got off easy at that time. Why do I think so? All because of a very recent incident. You probably heard about the earthquake in Turkey that happened in 2023. On February 6th, several tremors occurred. The most powerful one had a magnitude of almost 8. This is very strong, I can tell you, but not as intense as in Japan. But even that was enough for something terrible to happen. Over 50,000 people died because of the disaster. And this all happened in just a few minutes. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people were injured. Just think about it. Over 160,000 buildings were destroyed. No other natural disaster can compare to these numbers. Just horrible. But why do earthquakes happen at all? Such powerful tremors occur due to the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates. When they collide, the heavier plates slide under the lighter ones. This movement releases a huge amount of energy, causing an earthquake, and it would be okay if it happened underwater. In that case, a tsunami would occur, causing damage, but not as much. On land, everything starts shaking so violently that no structure can withstand it. Even asphalt on the streets gets huge cracks. At the epicenter of that earthquake, a huge chasm appeared. And the scariest part is that as a result of these events, ordinary people end up buried alive in their own homes. Of course, modern technology, like in Japan, allows avoiding serious consequences and destruction. But unfortunately, this earthquake happened in the poorer regions of Turkey. This is what caused such a high number of casualties. But you know what scares me the most? The fact that such natural phenomena on our planet are happening more and more often. Almost every day you can hear on the news about a volcanic eruption somewhere, a forest fire raging somewhere, or an earthquake occurring somewhere. And it's very, very strange. If such phenomena happened before, it wasn't with such destructive power. Yes, all this occurred centuries ago. But just think about it. There was very little time between all the cases I told you about today. The biggest difference is only 12 years between the tsunami in Japan and the devastating earthquake in Turkey. And recently, there have been news reports of eruptions of dormant volcanoes from different parts of our planet. Why is this happening more and more often? Is something trying to wipe us off the face of the earth? Or are we to blame for all this? I lean towards the latter theory. You've all heard about what global warming can lead to. And here's a clear example: nature's response to all our misdeeds. I've already talked in detail about what's hidden under the ice of Antarctica in one of my previous videos. And there, I also discussed the problem of global warming. I recommend watching that video. How did you like this video? Share your thoughts in the comments as I read them all. I would like to note the professionalism of the staff at the Fukushima nuclear power plant, because thanks to them, the plant barely held up. By the way, if you want a video on this topic, let me know. And yes, about the pros. Friends, you have the opportunity to join our team. If you have video editing skills, can voice over videos in Russian, English, and other languages, or write interesting scripts, we would be happy to work with you. Contact us via the Telegram bot. The link is in the description. And thank you for your attention.